Here we go. Maria Yesipova. I don't know how to pronounce his title.
Drunk stop is cute stuff.
Oh yeah, but and you just don't pronounce the shortcut? Okay.
It's
Drunk,
a hashtag.
a hashtag. Drunk stuff is cute stuff. A glimpse into Tumblr Morphology. Wait. Are you ready? I'm ready, almost. You're more ready than I am.
Not ready yet.
I'm not ready yet either. Who's going to be ready first?
So hello everybody. This year I've decided not to do anything serious. I've decided to do something silly but hopefully funny. And I'm going to focus on one particular case of some weird morphology going on Tumblr within a specific fandom. And the most obvious question first is, what is Tumblr? There was a question mark. I don't know where it is now. Tumblr is a social network, which is like Facebook or Twitter, only it's really different from Facebook and Twitter. It's really visually oriented. You have more pictures and GIFs than text, but you also have text, and specifically in captions and hashtags. And Tumblr is all about fandoms. You can have different fandoms, fan communities of TV shows, or other universes like films and books, or specific people like film directors and actors. And most Tumblr communities, most Tumblr fandoms have their own slang, but some of them also develop some specific word formation patterns. And today I'm going to focus on one suffix, the "stoph" suffix that has emerged in the Christoph Waltz fandom. Christoph Waltz is an Austrian actor, in case you don't know, but it's really relevant. And we can have all kinds of stoffs. We can have angry stuff, happy stuff, cute stuff, drunk stuff, sad stuff, bold stuff. And before we go to what they can mean, right, you have already guessed that stuff is just a part of the name Christoph, so it has something to do with him. And whatever you add to stuff, it should be really short. There is no such strict rule for it to be short, but you want to keep your stuffs short so that they resemble the original name or any name for that matter. So what do they mean? Well, the basic case, general case is that you take a one-place predicate like angry, you combine it with stuff, and you end up with Christoph being angry. And let me give you an example of that. This is a real-life example from Tumblr. All my examples are real-life examples. I love bold stuff. What you mean to say here is, what do you mean to say? I love Christoph when he's bold, or I love it when Christoph is bold, okay? Whenever he's bold. Let's have some more examples. Drunk stuff is cute stuff. The set of all the situations in which Christoph is drunk is a subset of all the situations in which he's being particularly cute because he's generally cute. And I think it works with other names, like you can say Hungry John is an unhappy John. I think you can say that. And you know what it means. It's whenever John is hungry, he's unhappy. And I think that the second occurrences of stuff and John are kind of redundant, but I don't know what to make of that. Maybe you want to preserve some rhythmical organization of your speech. And so you might have already guessed from the two examples I've given you that stuff really doesn't denote Christoph as the individual. It denotes the set of all the states, situations, time periods, because we can have young stuff related to Christoph. And then you combine it with a modifier and you end up with a subset of this, right? And you don't have to use it generically, like drunk stuff it's whenever Christoph is drunk, right? You can point to a specific event, and let me give you just two examples. Again, real-life examples. Right now I'm enjoying that old Tarzan episode. Tarzan is a TV show with young stuff as a police guy. Okay, young stuff doesn't refer to the time, to the whole, to Christoph being young throughout the whole time he was young, you know. The same thing is true about smile. Stuff is happy at the prospect of salad. You have to take my word on this. It refers to a particular event. Christoph smiling, you can see that. You can also combine stuff with things that are not one-place predicates, really. Like you can have beard stuff, and beard stuff intuitively means Christoph sporting a beard. And you can ask a question, do you prefer beard stuff or bald stuff? And I told you that Tumblr is visually oriented. Let's have some pictures. This is beard stuff, this is bald stuff, but you're not asked to compare the two pictures, you're asked to compare the two types of Christoph, the two facets of Christoph. And by the way, look at this picture. It's also an example of Apollo stuff, because he's wearing and this is an example of glass stuff. I think what you have to do here, you have to coerce this input noun into being a one-place predicate. Normally you add a two-place predicate, then this noun saturates one of its arguments, you combine it with stuff, and you end up with things like beard stuff. Let's have some more examples of this kind. Beer stuff is Chris of drinking beer, the most obvious interpretation. Tuxedo stuff, Chris of wearing a tuxedo. That's really long, by the way. And Prada stuff, of course. Chris of wearing clothes by Prada or modeling for Prada. But obviously to get this second interpretation, you have to be a part of the fandom, because otherwise you wouldn't know that he sometimes models for Prada. And you can use them both generically, like my love for Polo stuff never dies, or event-specific. Prada stuff on the back of the Daily Telegraph. Wow. So the question is, do things like that happen in other fandoms? Well, apparently they do. I haven't looked at many fandoms. The most obvious fandom to look for things like this is the fandom of the actor Benedict Cumberbatch, because when you have a surname like Cumberbatch, you're asking for some weird mythology. And I've got this example here. And of course I have to cut the word adorable in order to make it even pronounceable, right? And wow, this is my favorite example, although I'm not a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch. Lip-biting ginger badge and derby ginger badge are amongst my favorite varieties of ginger badge. Well, obviously ginger badge means Cumberbatch with red hair, with ginger hair. And in case you didn't know, ginger badges come in varieties. Okay, so if you're interested in stuff like this, please do join Tumblr, find out more. But if you want to have at least some social life, don't join Tumblr. I can tell you more stuff. Okay, that's it.
All right, continuing with session 2.
I have a question for Masha. I was wondering, so in these fandoms where you see something stop and something batch, if the people who belong to these fandoms are mostly women, because there was a study that came out where it's actually young girls that are the generators of new slang and forms of language use, and I'm wondering if that's what we're seeing in these fandoms.
Yes, obviously they're mostly girls, and you have a term for that. You call them fangirls, and there is a verb to fangirl, and you can fangirl over someone, and a boy can say I'm a fangirl and over, but you don't have a verb to fanboy. It doesn't mean that all of them are girls, and it doesn't mean that all the boys that are there are necessarily gay or something, right? But yeah, they're mostly girls.
Yeah,
Not necessarily young though. Yes, there are lots of young girls, but well, I'm not all that young,
I have one question for Masha too. Why do you think it's only Tumblr is maybe only social network who has that kind of?
I don't think it's only Tumblr who has this kind of things going on. I mean, I focused on Tumblr.
Facebook, on networks like those.
You see, Tumblr is a very specific thing, right? You have these fandoms, and they're not necessarily closed, right? But to get fandom relevant stuff, you have to go to the hashtag, right? And then you read everything related or unrelated to whatever the hashtag is. And there is a sense of community within this fandom, and it's easier to do so there than on Facebook. And then Tumblr is really unjudgmental. You can write anything on Tumblr, and you won't get any negative remarks on this.
You think it's because of community and
because it's informal, because it's quick, because you blog a lot on Tumblr, because it's visually oriented, because Tumblr is Tumblr, I think. Yes, but I think you can have something like that in a group, in specific community on Facebook as well. I mean, nothing prevents you from doing that. It's just that Tumblr is organized in a manner that favors immersion of this.
I have a question also for Masha. So you showed that stuff can be attached to nouns, and what was the first one?
Adjectives and sometimes verbs, because I think what you have in mind is a participle, but it's longer, and you just want to have the verb like smoke stuff.
But is there any, and there's some, they want to be fairly short, although you showed some examples.
Yes, because yes.
But is there any, could you, in other words, is it always to a bare lexical item, or could it be a compound, or a short phrase?
What, the whole thing?
Yeah, the stuff could be attached to a noun
right.
verb combo or something.
Yes,
Like-
I checked that. Apparently you can, but that's rare. I mean, I even saw having fun stuff, which
Right, exactly, something like that. Having
yes,
fun.
having fun, but that's really. I mean,
Because
it's, I'm not a native speaker of English, but I'm kind of
Well.
a native speaker of Tumblr. That doesn't strike me as grammatical.
It doesn't,
But you can't have
You can
that.
find it,
You don't
yeah.
want it.
because, yeah. Other questions?
It doesn't, also a question to Masha, does it depend from the length of the surname you use? For example, are the first part of the words based on, for example, Cumberbatch longer than the same thing with what?
It can be. It can be.
Yes.
Of course, it can be. I think Adorabetch is longer than Cumberbatch.
And it's typical.
The ideal version of of the word that you get is it should preserve the same rhythmical structure, like Gingerbatch works wonderful, Slumberbatch works better.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? In session 2 speakers? Anything? Okay, end of session 2.